What's happening, everybody? We are back. It's the Clearing the Crease podcast, powered by your friends and ours, BODOG. The band is all back together. Calder Trophy winner, the Razor, Andrew Raycroft. Stanley Cup winner, Mike Commodore. Commie's in the house. And the reason why you mute NHL 26 from EA Sports. Yeah, this guy right here, James Cebulski. You can call me CBall. Hey, don't forget, just a reminder, everybody, we're on Apple, we're on Spotify, along with YouTube, and you can also follow along on all of our social channels on TikTok, X, Instagram, you name it. You can find us here, there, and everywhere. Look, there's an old saying here, guys. In radio, so for anybody listening on a podcast form, on Apple or Spotify, I'm totally alienating you right now, but hope everybody had a great summer. Commie, you look like you had the greatest summer of all, because Commie is back like 2005, 2006, Sideshow Bob, big red glorious afro is back, man. Like, you look like you had the best summer of all time here. It's back, my man.
Well, I appreciate that. I did have a good summer, but I'm not going to sit here and lie and say it was good as the 06 summer. That one, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to repeat again, but I did have a pretty good summer. Running around. First off, super pumped to be back with you guys. It's awesome. You never, sometimes, and there's radio silence, and then all of a sudden, kaboom, here we are. So I'm super pumped about that. But yeah, summer was good.
Dude, you went
a little bit of golf. I went to Ireland. Yeah, I went on the old one of our guests trip there, the Holland Ken Holland 2025. Last one ever. He says it every summer. I went over there and played like trash.
Oh no!
But oh my god, it's the worst. I went over there with like dreams. I'm like, I'm gonna win some money this year again. I usually am in like I usually bring home a little bit of cash. I don't dominate, but I usually like pick off the D pots and stuff like that. I was so bad until the very last round. It was embarrassing, but I did figure one thing out. I get way too quick. I mean, at least it's figured out for right now. It's golf, but now I got one of those orange whips in my bag. That helped me a lot. But the trip was awesome. We started in Scotland. Then we took the ferry over. We did Troon and Turnberry there. Then we took the ferry over to Northern Ireland and bussed over to Ballyliffin, which none of us had ever been to before. They hosted an Irish Open a couple years ago. That place was really cool, like a little town. Golf course was easy to get to. Hotel was great, like just a little town. And then we finished off in Portrush, where a couple of the guys, including Ken, are members. So yeah, it was fun. But a little bit of that.
Are you allowed to name drop who goes on a trip like that?
Yeah, name drop. You guys wouldn't know. It's a lot of the same old suspects. The only guys you guys would know, obviously Ken was there. Doug Armstrong was there. And John Buchagros was there. He came and played.
Which you got the call for the first time, right?
Maybe overseas. It's the first time I've been with him overseas. Yeah. He was here at Whisper Rock for one of Ken's things.
Yeah.
But anyways, and he brought his son. Let me tell you what.
He can play golf, huh?
Oh, his son murders the golf ball. I think he played college golf. He just finished up. I think he's going to give it a go in Florida, Mondays and little mini tour stuff. And I mean, who knows how that goes, but he can most definitely play. It was impressive to watch him hit a ball. But yeah, other than the fact that I got smoked, I did have a good time. Well, another one of Ken's trips. It was like I was over there for they call it 9 days, 15 rounds. And let me tell you, a couple times my caddy didn't show up, and I don't think it was because I was playing so shitty. I think they just bailed on the day. So for the first time ever, the one day at Portrush, I mean, it's one thing if you're like hitting your ball like relatively like in play. I'm not asking to be down the pipe every time. Like that's a pipe dream. But when you're hauling your bag back and forth and back, and you're in the weeds again looking for your goddamn ball. Yeah. Oh, that was a low day. 30.
Well, you're just playing in fettuccine in that rough, right? Like,
I got no chance. Like none. It's a 90 if I'm being nice to myself. But anyways, I had a good trip. Overall, I had a good time.
Razor, not to try to one up here, and that might be a tough act, but Europe, Oasis.
Yeah, that was certainly the highlight. We had a great summer. We were in Canada a lot in Toronto, a lot in Ottawa through July. And then we did Oasis at Wembley on August 2nd. or no, sorry, July 30th.
Was this just a sudden thing, or you had locked this in well in advance?
So this has been like since they broke up. I mean, my buddies and I from Belleville have been we've been to a dozen shows. Everywhere I was, they'd come, we'd go, and when the brothers, had their final feud, we always said if they come back and they play Wembley, we're doing it. We're gonna go, and sure they do it. And my buddies were on the internet at like 4 a.m, 3 a.m when the tickets queued came out. For whatever reason, the internet in Belleville worked. Like, I don't know how it happened, but we ended up getting 8
It's not that rural. Come on.
I know, it was great. We ended up getting 8 tickets. Like the rest of us, I was in Boston. I got nothing. My buddies in Toronto, like we all got nothing except the 2 guys in Belleville had 2 computers going and they both got 4. So
nice.
So that was it. Yeah, there was a few guys that couldn't go, so our numbers were perfect. And I brought my crew over. They never, the kids loved London. We were there for like 4 or 5 days before, did all the tour stuff, and then I had my day to get in one and go watch the brothers.
Very nice.
It was awesome. So yeah, pretty cool experience, and we were all there and it was fun. And Oasis these guys are killing it. Obviously they're making a lot of shitload of money, but they're really good too. They're really, really good. Yeah. So it was fun. It wasn't a wash up. They were, not like the has been washed up band that just goes back on the road to make an extra couple bucks. It was like fun, and the world sucks right now, right? Like it's just a crazy place. You always feel like you're on edge. It was like the first time since COVID, it felt like the whole building was kind of on the same page. We were all middle-aged people that finally get to let it rip a little bit and not deal with like what was going on. It was just a cool energy, which awesome. Again, you don't get very often.
The only concert I ever saw at Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto was Oasis with Travis opening up for them way back in 1999, 99, 2000, which pretty wild. But, I think the one thing that you see with concerts, not to go, everybody's kind of tuning in for a hockey podcast, and we got golf and we've got Oasis. But honestly, like, I think your point about concerts nowadays, I think with the price of tickets now, right? Because nobody's buying albums, nobody's buying CDs. So how are you getting your money as an artist now, right? You're getting it through touring, you're getting it through merch, and that's why you find like a t-shirt is now $70, and like a mid-card sort of act is now over $100 for a ticket. And so I think to charge those prices, you better bring it, right? And I think you see acts, and not that Noel and Liam are in their 70s, but I think when you see even the guys that are the elderly now that are still performing on tour, they bring it. They're in excellent shape, right? They put on a show. And for those guys, you better get your money's worth when you're spending anywhere between $200, $300, $400 a ticket, right? So better be good. Well, that's awesome, man. You guys, okay. I went to Tulameen for a wedding here in central British Columbia. So
where?
Tulameen. You can Google that.
Okay. All right. I know BC pretty good. I don't think I've ever heard of that.
No, you know what? I didn't know where it was until I went to this summer, just outside of Princeton, British Columbia. So I'd say it's about 3.5 hours from Metro Vancouver. But beautiful spot. Maybe the sweetest cabin I'd ever seen, and I think you're almost insulting it by calling it a cabin. But pretty impressive. Nevertheless, it's not Oasis and it's not golfing in Ireland. So I'm just going to shut the front door and move on in. Where to begin? Since 3 months since we last chatted, Mitch Marner is a Golden Knight. We've got a new CBA. How about that? It's an Olympic year. Razor is now officially a member of the NHL 26 franchise. Razor, you want to do a little flex here? You want to let people in?
Very excited. Very excited. The kids are absolutely ecstatic.
Have they heard you yet?
Yes. Yeah. They couldn't wait. So they've I've cut them a few times already, which is quite quite a scene. They come upstairs, start yelling at me like what the hell are you guys talking? Leave me alone. But GM Razor just dominating the game.
So if you
awesome, I might have to get back into the video game.
Yes, Commie. Yes, we got to find a way to get you in the mix here at some point as well. So the new Be a Pro mode, a lot of different voices in the mix. Some you might be familiar with, but your friend and ours, Razor, part of the game. He is the general manager. So some days you might love him, and some days, well, you might use a mute option on him too, just like you do with me. Okay, look, why don't we start with the big story here this week? And you talk about resetting the market, perhaps, but Kirill the Thrill, Kaprizov, 8 years, $17 million per, the largest contract ever in NHL history, at least for now. What a win for smaller markets, right? For Minnesota, I think there had been a lot of pins and needles, people feeling, is he going to stay? Does he want to stay? I mean, we've seen these instances before where other Russian players have gone on to the brighter spotlight or warmer markets or whatever that case. Artemi Panarin, we saw Bob leaving Columbus, and here we got Kaprizov waiting it out, turning down $16 million only to get $17 million. Huge impact, big signing for Minnie. I think it feel good from a small market standpoint, but that's a lot of money for a guy who's got an injury history. Who wants to stay? Razor, you want to start with this one?
Sure. The money's nuts. And we knew the money was going to get nuts. We just assumed it was 97 that was going to make it nuts, and the other 97, not this 97.
Yeah, good point.
And I mean, there's just so many different ways to go here. I just listening to the small market team, Minnesota spent a lot of money before the salary cap, and they were more than willing to spend that money. And now that the cap's gotten bigger, a team like Minnesota can now throw dollars at people to stay. They were a team that kind of got stuck because they're in Minnesota. They're a lot like a Canadian team where there's just some people that don't want to go there. There's some people that like the beach in the winter or think they want to play golf all winter, whatever it is. They kind of got handcuffed. And now that the cap's opened up, now they can open the purse, and now they can give a guy like Kaprizov all the money that he needs to stay there. And turns out it's 17 million, not 16 million, like they were talking about last week. And that's great for the league. That's great for a place like Minnesota. It's great for places in Canada, to be quite honest, too. If they can afford to do it, they can pay guys a little bit more to go up and play there and not completely burn the rest of their roster to the ground to do so. So that's exciting for the players, and certainly exciting for Kirill to set the market. Like, Jesus Christ, it's a lot of money, huh, Commie? It's just so hard to wrap your head around, like, hockey guys making this much money.
I was waiting for this. It's always that previous generation, like, man, if only I played now.
It's great. It's awesome. Like, I love it. But it just happened really quick. Kind of like, because again, it was building, and then COVID hit, and everything went the other way, and now all of a sudden we're here. New CBA, and this guy's getting 17. The next guy's getting 17-1. The next guy's getting 17-2. And then McDavid's going to get 22.5. Like, that's what's going to happen here. And it's crazy. But you look at it, and it's only 15%. When McKinnon signed his deal a few years ago, it was 15% of the cap. Kaprizov signs this, it's only 15%. It does not, they're not overpaying him. And that's why these guys.
What a bargain that McKinnon deal looks like now, right?
Oh, everyone's deal has it. They're just like, they can't believe when they signed out of COVID and there was no room, and they got 11. David Pastrnak got 11.5 like a year, like
bargain.
Unbelievable. He's literally 50% off. It's crazy.
11 million and grossly underpaid. How about that? Connie,
I mean, God, the league got there. Awesome.
So let me throw this, because you were a defenseman who won a cup. Razor, you were a goalie, obviously, and had tremendous success, the rookie of the year. How do we feel committing that much money, Commie, to a winger?
You know what? I'm actually totally fine with it, and I'm not going to sit here. There's a few ways.
He's a left winger.
We're not doing that.
Anyway,
there's a couple ways I could go with it. I would say, like, first off, I'm actually going to say good on the Minnesota Wild, and not just for this contract, but you know what? I'll go with the Russian first. I'm not going to sit good for him. And like you touched on earlier, usually those Russians, the really good ones, they want to go to New York City or they want to go to Florida, and maybe you can mix in the LA there once in a while. So good for him for wanting to stay in Minnesota. Now, obviously, $17 million per year for 8 is going to help you, but still, he probably could have kind of done something else and got out of there if he wanted to. Another way to go with it is good for the Minnesota Wild. I think I was looking it up earlier. They with the Parisi and the Suter and the way that went and how they were locked up with that money, dead cap space for the last 3-4 years, whatever it was. And the fact that they've remained competitive, very competitive, I think it shows to whoever's running their hockey ops and drafting and developing and all that kind of stuff, making the trades, Bill Guerin, obviously, but there's a lot of other people doing it. So good on them. But yeah, look, I'm not going to sit here. I think that's awesome. Good for him. I think it's good for the league. I think it kind of everybody comes up, which is good for the players. It is crazy in a way to sit here and be like, man, there's a dude in the NHL making $17 million. But then I'll think yeah, and it's not McDavid. So obviously he's not going to have this record, depending on what McDavid wants to do. McDavid's going to be able to do whatever he wants. But, it's nice to see it come up because, I go to the golf course here and it's down in Arizona. I'm not dropping names here or anything, but at an 8 top, I had lunch with, I was sitting next to Devin Booker. That guy just signed a deal for 70 a year. Yeah. So sometimes people down here are like, what's the highest paid player in the league? And I think last year was Matthews, wasn't it? I think he was right there. Anyways, 14.
14. They're like the basketball.
Yeah, they're like
player on the basketball team makes 28.
I know. Yeah. A guy making 14's coming off the bench on a basketball team. But I know it's different. There's less players and the big TV deals and all that. But good for both of them. Good for the league. I think it's awesome. Like I said, to finish off my thoughts on it, I'm not going to sit here and say that I watch a lot of Minnesota Wild hockey. I don't. But what I keep thinking of is when I was watching the playoffs last year, and Minnesota gave Vegas a run for their money. And I remember the people doing the game big time gave them a run for their money. There was a while there where Minnesota might pull this off.
Yeah.
And I remember the people doing the game and doing the color. And a lot of people that watch the Wild were like, it's a completely different team when this guy's in the lineup. So, and it looked like that in the playoffs. So he better keep it going at 17 a year.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of money to commit for a winger. And then, what does it do for the market here going forward? Because as you mentioned, 17, it's not a crippling percentage, right? And you talk about a franchise that's pretty fearless to spend money and commit, right? You finally move on from the Suter and Parisi, and it's like, boom, we are committing, lock it in for, with a guy who, let's face it, he's also had an injury history, right? So there are some concerns. He missed significant time last year. He typically seems to miss, a chunk of games each year. So let's see how that kind of plays out going forward. But he is a game changer on the ice. And again, for smaller markets that, have seen things traditionally or historically in recent years go the wrong way, I feel like this is a nice win. And you know what? Honestly, I don't think we talk about Minnesota enough. Look, if you're from the United States, you know how good a hockey market it is. Obviously, state of hockey, but awesome. that is a loud, boisterous building. It is a passionate fan base. It is a hockey hub. And you know what? And they've got a legitimate rock star for the next 8 years committed to them. So good for them. But what does that do now for the likes of the Panarins, the Eichels, Kyle Connor? I mean, what a deal. Look at those deals now for Hellebuck and Scheifele that they committed to, right? A little over a year ago. And that's all of a sudden you're looking at half the price. I mean, you might be looking at Kyle Connor in a year from now he might be closer to 15 million. I don't see him pushing up a Kaprizov money, but he's probably looking at least 12 or more. But that brings us to the name that we've been dropping a lot. Let's go with the early prediction here in Connor McDavid. He's been very open and honest and very candid in some of his conversations he's had with various members of the media about just wait and see. Look, I don't think there's any issue from a financial standpoint. If he wants 20 million, Razor, as you kind of alluded, or even 22 million, but I'm going to defer to some of the insiders that have been reporting on this. And, Elliot Friedman's talked a lot about this on his podcast and reporting with Sportsnet, but I kind of defer to where he's kind of suggesting. I like the logic that I think, look, price is not going to matter. I think he's probably going to be a little like Sid the Kid here and probably take a little less in order to stay competitive. Look, McDavid wants to win, right? I look at Kaprizov's contract. That's about getting paid. I don't know if McDavid will take as much. Maybe he does. He's certainly worth every penny, and he's probably worth at least $5 million more than Kaprizov. But I do wonder if McDavid will try to be a little more flexible and lock in on a shorter term as opposed to going long term. Just because, Commie, I'll defer to the Darnell nurse doctor here, over to you, but
he's still overpaid.
Well, and that's it, right? Like, he's 9+ for 5 more years.
Oh man, he's killing it.
You've got Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, who's now, nearing his mid-30s at another, and it's not a crippling cap hit by any stretch, but just over $5 million. But you've got Nugent-Hopkins for another 5 years you're committed to. You've got another 9+ for 5 more years with Darnell Nurse. You're looking at these numbers like, what have you done with goaltending? Like, I think this is a huge year or a big few months for Stan Bowman and the Oilers to try to make sure they get their ish together and have their ducks in a row to make sure that this is a competitive team as opposed to just Draisaitl and McDavid carrying this hub, because that blue line, Ekholm when healthy, he's good. Nurse is, and Bouchard, as dynamic as he is offensively,
he has his moments.
Close your eyes and keep your fingers crossed in his own end, right? So
Boosh bombs everywhere, offensively and defensively.
Yeah, Boosh bomb is a subjective term, as we've learned here, Commie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I think it's going to come down. I don't know anything, but Connor McDavid, to touch on taking a little less, you know what? From what he's saying, I think he probably would be. Well, he's going to make, he already has, but money's going to be not a big, he's going to have plenty. He's the best player in the league. I think we can all agree. The one angle, though, that some people, now at the end of the day, he can do whatever he wants. There's no question about that. I'm assuming he's probably, or his agent is going to be getting some heat from the PA, because the PA, the big boys in the league, the PA and the rest of the league want to see the big boys get paid like the big boys, just like Kaprizov did, because then everybody else comes up. So there's that angle that, like, a lot of fans don't really think about. It's like, oh, McDavid, you're loaded. Like, play for 10. Like, and he might want to, but he's going to get a lot of heat from the PA on that. I think I don't know, never anywhere near these shoes, but for me, looking at it, I think it comes down to, obviously the Oilers were very, very close the last 2 years. You made it to the finals. Now, the finals didn't work out. You're down 3-0. You come back. You lose game 7. That ended up being way closer than it was this year when it was 2-2, and then you got your doors blown off in the next 2 games.
Yeah.
I think it's obvious he wants to win. I think he's looking at it, and does he believe the Oilers are close? That's first off. When it comes to a long-term deal, Look, I'm from Edmonton. It's a great place to play. The rink is awesome. People are passionate. I'm not ripping on Edmonton, but it's like, does he want to spend his entire career in Edmonton? On the other side of it, isn't he married now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Look, I never went down this road because I've never been married. But does his wife want to be in Edmonton? Now, I'm sure Kate's, and I'm sure they're handing her interior design jobs out the yin-yang. Her opening job's probably like a $30 million job. I'm sure they are doing their best to take care of the entire family. But does he want to do that? I think if it was me, just from what I know and sitting here from the outside, and if I thought that if I'm sitting here and I'm Connor and I'm like, you know what? I think we're pretty close. We just went to the finals twice. If I kind of like what I see, I think I sign a short-term deal. I think I sign like maybe a 2-year deal, maybe. What that number is, what the number is, I don't know. I would try and keep it. Maybe Kaprizov, maybe something like that. But I sign short-term deal and see where it goes from there. Unless I'm totally sold and I love Edmonton, if I'm Connor McDavid, I don't think I'm signing a long-term deal.
Razor, before you jump in, Razor, just on something you brought up about McDavid getting married, isn't it remarkable that here we are throwing the question, like, McDavid's married, I think, like he kind of did it subtly. We are all of the generation that remembers when Wayne Gretzky, that was a nationally televised wedding, right? Like, you're from Edmonton. Like that was essentially the Canadian equivalent of the royal wedding back in 1987, 1988, right? Like that was satellite broadcast. It might as well have been the Olympics on television, the amount of coverage that wedding provided. And here we are with rock stars like Connor McDavid finding a way to subtly get married. Different time, but
I'm
Razor, where do you want to go?
Blame Instagram for that.
Yeah.
Got 2 points that Commie touched on that. So I'll start with what I'd been thinking, and it changed a lot today. But what I've been thinking was his life's changing, and he's been there 10 years. And to the marriage part, the family part, thinking ahead. Okay, how much longer can my wife go to the grocery store and get bothered? How much longer can I go to the grocery store and get bothered? How much can I live here and have my kids get bothered? And actually, build a family in somewhat of a normal way. Can I do that here in Edmonton? I've been thinking that's what I would be thinking if I was him. Because again, like Commie, we have no idea, and none of us have ever been that good at something ever before to really understand what it's like. But we've been around guys like that, and those guys, are pretty private typically, and they do at some point just kind of have enough. And being in Canada and being Connor McDavid in Canada for 10 years plus 3 years of junior is probably adding up. And now that his wife's in the mix,
look at how long Matt's did it for.
Well, no, but Mats wasn't Canadian, and Mats wasn't Connor McDavid either, right? Mats was able to do his own thing because he was Swedish and he was Mats, and he never had a wife. He never had a wife. He didn't.
I did not know that. Okay.
No. Mats got married. He met his girlfriend when I was there in 2006. So he had been there forever. And now they have kids and stuff, but that was late. He was like Brad Richards. They all waited till the end. So I was thinking, I think he signs a couple years and plays it by year. He could even go year to year. Now today happens, and now I'm like, you know what? There is no reason the PA wants Connor McDavid to set the table here. There's no reason. If Kaprizov's getting 17, let Eichel get 18. Let someone else get 19, and then Connor, you come in just above one of those guys. Because I was thinking the same way, right? Connor will go in at 14. He doesn't need the money. He wants to win in Edmonton. He'll do the good salary cap deed. And he'll come in at 14. But that would have crushed everybody. That crushes everybody. Kaprizov cannot get 17 if McDavid had signed right out of the gates to get 14. So I think now some of this posturing by McDavid and slow playing it is to allow these extensions to get signed. So then Connor's not the one setting the market. I could absolutely see conversations being had in that where he's just slow playing it a little bit, at least even just to get the Kaprizov deal out there. Because now he can go to 17.5. That keeps everybody kind of in check within the league. If Connor McDavid signs 14, Kaprizov can't sign 17. It really screws everything up. So there is a lot there.
So as guys with their experience in the PA and a lot of term, but between both you guys, that pressure is a real thing that Connor McDavid's going to face.
1,000,000%. Yeah, 1,000,000%.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I think so.
Yeah. No. It's kind
of what drives the boat. So to speak.
No. It's an excellent point, and you go back to the late Bob Goodenow, who just passed away recently, way too soon in his early 70s. And, a tip of the cap to Bob, who, nobody fought for the players like Bob Goodenow. And I know polarizing figure in his time, but I got a ton of respect. I got a ton of time for Bob Goodenow. But he had talked about salary disclosure in the early 90s and opening things up. But if you go back to the days of Gordie Howe, Gordie was grossly underpaid. And it was sort of a handshake, sort of the agreement that was set. But anytime a player tried to push for more, other general managers knew what Gordie was making. And they said, well, I'm not paying you more than Gordie Howe because you're not better than Gordie Howe. Right. Yeah. And so, that can almost be used as leverage if McDavid's settling in. I think this exactly speaks to your point, right? If McDavid's settling in at 14, 15 million, which, hey, that's a great deal to want to be, you're doing it out of a place of love to try to help the franchise you're playing with. But at the same time, it's like, hey man, you're screwing hundreds of other guys around the
rest of the league.
Jack Eichel goes in and wants his extension, and it's what, Bob? McDavid's 15. So you're pretty good, but you're not getting 15 because the best guy's getting it's very, very simple. And there is, again, none of us have been in those kind of conversations, but they happen, and that's the pressure that these best players have been under. And Sid and Ovi, those guys got paid the most, but there just wasn't the same dollars available to them now. And that's kind of changed. McDavid's kind of the first on this one now, where we're going back to 1997, where you do have to set the market. Bob Goodenow would have absolutely been adamant about Matt Sundin setting the market in 1996. He would be in that negotiation. He would be a part of that, making sure that it was as much as he could possibly get.
Yeah.
McDavid should maybe get like an LLC and say he's growing trees up in northern Alberta, but not really do anything and get tossed like $50 million.
Get some of that
just like Kawhi Leonard.
Microsoft money.
I got an LLC here, or whatever that rumor was. He said, "Yeah, I want to own part of the Leafs," or however Leonard did it.
We have a regular we have a don't kid. We have a regular segment that we will get to more in full swing next week. But this might just be a memo to Connor McDavid where we say, "Don't puck it up, 97. A lot riding on you from every angle possible." Right. Before we wrap this episode up, let me throw this at both of you guys. Who was the player that you played with that had a payday that you got? Like, there must have been a conversation that you ever, like, that sort of move the meter sort of payday that you just kind of, you hear everybody talk and transmit like, oh, we don't really talk about contracts, but there has to be that one contract that you go, holy
no, everybody does that.
Move the meter.
Yeah, everybody.
All right, Razor, who comes to mind?
Well, you put me on the spot. You put us both on the spot. So I need to go into the Rolodex just really quickly. I mean, there's the.
Go ahead.
One? No, you got it.
I'm pretty sure I got one. I think it was right before I left. The Eric Stahl deal, I remember. Like he got, and it wasn't like it was astronomical. And Eric was an excellent player. Don't get me wrong, but he got a pretty good bump up. And I don't remember anything quite like this, but
Rick DiPietro. I mean,
there's Ricky, a good one. Yeah, I don't know Rick, but
4 times. 15 times 4.
He's still getting paid.
And I was rookie of the year, and I was like, what's going on here? Good luck going to the Boston Bruins with that. That was not happening. That was shot down
12
very
years.
Quickly. The phone literally hung up when I mentioned that's probably the area I should be in. That's the one, the Rick. I can't believe that didn't come right to the top of my head.
Yeah, that would be the one. And he is still, I thought I looked that up this summer. It came up with somebody. He's getting paid for a few more years here.
Yeah, I think he's 2028. I think he's got 3 years left. Crazy.
Amazing. Played like 40 games after.
Yeah, that's like the hockey equivalent of Bobby Bonilla, right? Like,
exactly. Good for Bobby.
Even before the cap came in, you guys would have been young in the league at the time, but the one that really popped for me was, Cujo. I think going to Detroit 3 times 10, like 10 million. Like, we're talking 2003 here, right?
That's
and
when
somebody hit 8 figures, right?
Yeah, Bobby
Ken
Holik.
told me.
Bobby Holik 9 times. Oh my God,
that was a good one. 5
with the Rangers, right?
Yeah, with the Rangers.
I think it was. Yeah. Ken told me
your boy Splat's serving that one up.
Oh yeah. About Cujo. Because we've had Cujo and Ken. Ken told me a little story about that when it happened. Because I think Cujo was making 9, which I had forgot it was like that before I was just on my entry level deal. I wasn't paying attention to who's making $9 million. I was just trying to stay out of the American League. But Ken at that 1 year had Cujo making 9. And then, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but then it was, things were going pretty good, but not at the Detroit level right then. Yeah. I think he went down and played. He was hurt in his ankle, and he played 1 game in the minors and dominated. But then they signed Hasek, and I think at one point, I think Ken had back then, and Hasek took a pay cut. I think they had $15 million tied up in net, and that was without Manny Legacy or Osgood, who was even. I can't remember which one was there.
It was Ozzy there too. It was the 3 of them: Ozzy, Hasek, and Cooge, and he had to get.
Well, there was the Sakic. The Rangers play on Sakic, right? That I think they've since done a documentary on. But
that was a great documentary. I didn't know anything about that.
No, it was. But again, it does go to it the 17 million, or the fact that guys were only making 10, 11, 12. because Brian Leach was making 9.5 in 1995. Ray Bourque was making 9. Like, these guys were making huge money back then. Huge money before the cap came in.
Just wild. Well, nice to get the band back together here.
We're
back.
Just a little taste and diving into a couple of stories that I don't think are going away anytime soon. I think especially in Commie's hometown of Edmonton. That'll put a bow on this episode of the Clearing the Crease podcast, powered by BODOG. Hey, don't forget, a reminder, we on Apple, Spotify. If you're listening, you've already found us. You know where to go. We're also on YouTube regularly and social channels as well. TikTok, X, Instagram. You can find Commie, Razor, myself on all those as well. And we will see you. We're every week now. Every week there's a new episode of the Clearing the Crease podcast from this week all the way to this time next year. So buckle up. Your commutes, you're walking with the dog, you're sitting in front of your screen. You will be sick of us in no time. But keep following. We'll talk to you next week right here on the Clearing the Crease podcast, powered by your friends and ours, BODOG.